Joining us now in the Hyundai Texans radio studio, it's head coach Lovie Smith. Coach, back from the bye. Great to see you.
It's great to be back. Enjoyed the bye week, but it's great to get back into ball.
Okay, so let's just start here. I saw you wearing burnt orange over the weekend.
I knew this was coming up.
Well, I did, and you look good in burnt orange, Coach, and you picked the right day. I imagine they want you back every week now because they won.
Well, I'm a product of Texas high school football. Whenever the flagship university invites you and your wife to come down, you kind of loved it. A gracious host and saw good football, so we had a blast this weekend.
Coach, different environments, NFL and college, but what's special about going to a college game, whether you're a fan, you're coaching it, whatever the case might be? What's special about a college environment? Not against the NFL environment, but just a college environment in general. What's special for you?
Well, I think just, when I say I'm a product of Texas high school football, you have a lot of young people that and just kind of see their excitement. We get that a little bit in NFL, but it's a different crowd most of the time. And just everything that goes on before, recruiting. Recruiting is such a big part of college football now, and they had most of their top recruits down there and knowing what's on their mind and also seeing how many people love our Houston Texans down there. College people had to have an NFL team that they support. So a lot of great support, really excited about what we're doing.
Okay, so one rule difference, and there are a few, between college football and NFL football. The clock stops on first downs. Now, would you be in favor of that in the NFL, maybe in the last 2 minutes of the game, if you're behind trying to come back, or do you like the clock the way it is in this league?
Yeah, I like it the way it is in this league, and you're right. That's one of the major things that I've talked about forever. Seems like the game never ends in college because if you have a few minutes or so, with the clock stopping, it seems like you always have time. That's one of the major changes, of course. Another one that is pass interference. Spot foul in NFL, but it's not in college. So those are the two major ones that I've debated for a long period of time.
Coach, I've wondered this over the years because when you were growing up as a coach, you learn the X's and O's, you coach positions, you run the defense. But you're talking about situational football, the clock, managing the clock. When for you as a head coach did you realize, hey, that's just as much a part of all of this as whatever play I call, whatever X's and O's I put on the board? When did sort of that realization come for you? And how did you kind of learn that through the years of being a head coach?
Not as much in college. But when I got to the NFL on first Tampa staff, that's when it really came into focus a little bit more then. At certain calls and just how we handle those situations then. But it's always been there. Yeah. If you're in football, situational football should be a priority. Junior high, high school, and, of course, in college, and that is the case. I really believe more games are lost at the end than some team just going out and really doing something to win them. So you have to be well-versed in those situations.
All right, so, Coach, back from the bye, what did you learn about yourselves during the time off? I know it wasn't much time off. You just skipped a weekend of play, and I know everybody got a chance to recharge a little bit. But what stands out to you after these first games and as you embark against the Raiders and beyond?
And you're right. You do get to the bye week, and you really look at everything. But we've been doing that all along. And I think we've made adjustments each week. First off, we start the season offensively. Hey, we're a running football team. We didn't run the ball as well and as much as we needed to early on. That has changed. The guys on our focus on who our guys offensively want to get the ball to. I think we've done that. And just knowing everybody's roles, the role that they have. Defensively, we played a lot of guys for the most part on, what we want to do in situations. Things that we say are important, it's playing out that way. Offensively, we didn't turn the ball over a lot, that part, winning the turnover ratio normally leads you to winning games. So that's what we've learned, that it's not like we're all of a sudden going to become someone else. We truly believe in our way and the way that we're going to win football games.
Coach, for a coach, the routine is hugely important. And I'd imagine throughout the season, you do certain days, certain things you do on Monday, certain things you do on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Then the bye week comes. How disruptive, even though it's great to get some rest, But how disruptive is that in some sense that your routine gets a little bit kind of shaken out of balance? And how long does it take to get kind of back into it after the bye week?
Well, John, I mean, I am a routine guy. Routine, what I eat, what time I get up, when I do just about everything each day. As far as football is concerned, a part of the routine, though, is bye week. And that is already scripted in on what we do each day during the bye week. Players get 4 days off, so we only have one Wednesday practice. We planned that Wednesday practice long before we got to the bye week. And also part of bye week, coming out of the bye week and what we do. Guys are away for 4 days, having a good time like we all were, but to get one more day to prep for the Wednesday practice, that's why this Monday practice was so important for us to let the guys start running around a little bit and then the initial game plan in.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because you have Monday as a day off usually. And this week, Monday's the work day, Tuesday's the day off. But this way you get their legs going a little bit, get them back into the mental frame of mind. Is that it?
That's exactly it. We'll, again, we practice. And a lot of what we did practice-wise today was, with the Raiders, initial game plan and all that. We'll have another walkthrough. But, players get a day off each week. We changed that up. And, again, that's a base part of what we were always going to do on bye week 2. And then that's the best way for us to transition right into our Wednesday a.m. 8 o'clock practice. And now we're back on our regular routine.
Coach, Raiders, Derek Carr, quarterback, some outstanding offensive talent. I want to ask you about their corner in a little bit that you seem to know. But what do you think about the Raiders overall, and what do you see from that group?
Well, what we see from the Raiders is what I think you've seen from the Raiders a long period of time. You think offensive football. There's been a lot of outstanding quarterbacks that wore that uniform. Derek Carr is an excellent quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks in our league. Been that way for a long period of time. Running back-wise, Jacobs, he can do it all. One of the best running backs. So skill, think about the Raiders forever. Outstanding skill, tight end, Waller. One of the best, if not the best in the league when he's healthy. Devontae Adams, he's paid that way and he plays that way, of one of the best receivers in our game. So that's what you expect from them. And then on the defensive side of the football, hard-nosed, starting up front, the Hall of Famers that's played before them. 2 outstanding defensive ends right now. And, yes, I know one guy in the secondary. I know what kind of football player. He's a young player now, but he's going to be one of the better ones in our league.
Outstanding. Well, Coach, here you are against the Raiders, and I know in the offseason you do a lot of game planning ahead of time for the entire year, really. And how does that change as you get into the season and how teams sort of, as Johnny would say, reveal themselves as the season goes along?
Well, you're right. You have initial game plan before the season starts on what you and who you think a team will be, how they're going to, attack you. But after 5 games, it's out now. There's no secret now on how they plan on playing opponents. So I think we both kind of know what the other would like to do against each other. And but there's always a few tweaks. And it's always really good to come off of a bye week where you have a little bit more time to do some of those things. I'm sure they'll do that. And, of course, we'll do a little bit of that also.
Coach, I want to ask you about Nate Hobbs. That's a young man that you recruited. He came and played for you. Now you see him in the NFL. I would imagine there's a pretty high level of reward you feel in some sense, the fact that he's gone through your program and gotten out to the other side, to the NFL, to do that. How cool is that for you as a coach, as a leader of men, to see one of your young men grow in the way that he has? And what kind of player have you seen him turn into be for the Raiders?
On a personal note, just gratified, sense of pride, knowing, as you mentioned, what all he went through. You're right, sitting in his home. His family trusts me to keep mentoring him, and I knew he had the talent to be an outstanding player. So that part, that's what he's supposed to be. He's supposed to get young players early, teach them as much as you can, and then let them grow. I think they've done an outstanding job with him going forward, and he just fits the profile with it as much as anything. Also along those lines, when you know someone personally like that, I know if you ask Nate really is wanting to show everyone, I think you take a lot of pride in beating someone that you know personally, when it's family to you. So We're going to hug each other before and after the game, but I know we're both excited about trying to lead our teams to victory.
Coach, what can you tell the listeners about how you set up game planning with your position coaches? Because you can't coach every player on the team as the head coach. You coach the position coaches, and they coach the players. How does all that work? What can you tell us about that, the process and putting the whole thing together going into Sunday?
Well, I think you go all the way back. I mean, for me as a head football coach, I mean, we have, Frank Ross, we have Pep Hamilton. We've long talked our philosophy on how we're going to play special teams, our philosophy on how we're going to play offensive football, and, of course, me being in a lead position with the defense. You get that out of the way early on. From there, you trust the men that you have in charge. We know through the week we have a game plan that we know what we're going to do before. I don't all of a sudden become the special teams coordinator or the offensive coordinator on game day. I know what we're going to do in each situation. And as far as position coaches, I believe in setting the course on how you're going to do things, but then letting guys coach their position, be in charge, be the head coach of their position to grow. That's what was given to me a long period of time ago of my head coaches, guys over me, that let me grow, and the group that I was in charge of let me coach them up. So that's how we do it right now. Believe in all of our assistant coaches. They've done a great job. I know what they're gonna do on and off the football field, and these are the kind of coaches that you want influencing our young men.
Coach, I don't want to get too far ahead because I know coaches this week, we handle this week, we go to next week, we go to next week. But do you look at periods of time in the schedule, like the 3 weeks that's coming up or the 3 games that's coming up, the fact that you'll play 3 games in 11 days? And I think I know the answer to this because we've talked about this and how you map out the schedule in the season. But how do you look at that situation where you do have those 3 games in 11 days and how tough that can be on players' bodies, minds, et cetera? How tough a period is that for you, and how have you planned for that?
Well, just looking at the season as a whole, I've always broken it down by quarters. And since there's 17 games now, so the first quarter is 5. We look at 5 games, and then the next 4 after that. That schedule is all we've known about this group of games, this compact group of teams that we're going to have to play. And we have a schedule set up for that, but that's how we look at it. And as you mentioned, coach talk a little bit. You said how many games? It's just 1 game for us.
There you go.
It's just 1 for us, and then we'll deal with the next one after that. But looking at the schedule overall, a Thursday game is a little different.
Yeah.
So looking down the road a little bit, when you have in an ideal world for the Thursday game, you want a home game on Sunday early.
Right.
Which we have, and then of course that Thursday game at home. We have that. That's the best you can do to play a Sunday Thursday game. So looking at the schedule that way, we have an outstanding schedule.
Coach, I'm going to ask you a weird question because I think coaches don't really think about certain things. They're just like, oh, whatever. I don't worry about that. I worry about ball. I was watching the Bears on Thursday night, and they wore those orange helmets. It was weird, and I'm watching like orange and orange. But then what got me thinking about it was the Texans wearing red helmets and red jerseys on November 3rd. And I started getting excited about how that's going to look because I'm watching them wear something different. And I'm going to watch, we've never worn anything different. It got me excited about November 3rd. You get excited about helmets and jerseys, or that just not even worry about it?
No, I do get excited about that. And especially things, I'm routine and tradition, and especially us, a place like the Bears, long history. I love throwback uniforms, bringing back the history of a program, and especially new things. Us being, with the Texans being a fairly young franchise, but we're bringing our colors. I love our colors, so I'm excited about that red helmet coming up, and seem like the color combinations and our players really get into.
Yeah.
And they think that affects how they play. So if they think that, of course, I think that too,
So if you watch the NFL action, what is a general takeaway or two you have from watching the league when you're not playing? Because I feel like scoring is a little bit down. I think that's factual. Scoring is a little bit down overall. And then everybody's alive in the fourth quarter. And I know the Texans have been close in certain situations, and you closed out the last game very good. Your thoughts, Coach?
That's what I would say first off. And I knew that coming in. In NFL, most games it's over early. It's going to come down to how you finish the game. So we're talking about situational football. It comes down to that. What else I noticed, there is parity in the league. I mean, anybody can beat anyone. You know, there's 32 teams, and people rank them based on something, a system that doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Right.
You have to play the game, and you just never know what's going to happen until you play. This amazes me on how people say, well, this team is 7-point favorites. How do you know that based on what happened the previous week? There's so many factors that come into play that way. And I know where people have us ranked, down closer to the bottom, but that's not necessarily how it's going to turn out. If you look at who we played and how we played, we're in that group too. There's a lot of people in that group, and it'll be interesting to see exactly how we all finish.
Coach, when you're in a bye and you're watching ball and you're watching just games going on, it may not have, Utah, USC, UNLV, Air Force, doesn't matter. It could be an NFL game. Do you ever see something and go, whoa, pause it, run that back? I like that. Doodle on a napkin, bring that back to your guys and say, hey, I kind of like this. Do you kind of do some of that, or over the years have you just cultivated what it is that you do and you do it so well that you don't want to deviate from that much because that has been so successful throughout the league?
Well, as far as writing, not a lot of that. When I'm watching it normally, I'm like everybody else is a fan, and it's happening real quick. You know, there's no instant replay most of the time you're watching it. But what I do get from watching games is situations that come up. That's what I get. That's why I recommend to our players, watch as much football as you possibly can and just learn from the situations that come up throughout the course of a game. And there are so many that come up each week.
I got a good one for you. I got a good one I saw.
Okay, you got one?
Yeah. Team went to kick a game-winning field goal. This is actually in high school in Pennsylvania. Went to kick a game-winning field goal, and it got blocked. And they all ran off the field celebrating, but the ball got blocked behind the line of scrimmage. Offensive lineman went, picked it up, and ran it in, and they ended up losing. And I was like, it's not common, but it's a situation that happens. And it's one of those things where I would have taken that and said, hey, we can't make this mistake. Yeah. Understand that. And I thought that was a really unique situation that you don't see all the time. It happens, but that was just a unique one, and I just happened to see pop up on my Twitter timeline.
You're right. There are a lot of situations like that happen, and it's harder for high schools because they're not doing it as much as we do. I would hope that situations like that in NFL you see less and less because that's what we do for a living. That's all we do all day. But what I would say from that high school you talked about, that helped them years down the road. That play right there, that situation may help them win a game later on.
All right, the Amegy Bank Ask Coach question of the week, and this relates to family. Of course, we know about Miles, and you've talked about Marianne right here on this very radio show. Coach, where does it come from? You have such a sense of family and wanting the family to be together. You've talked about your grandchildren. When did this start? And just discuss the strength of this for you and your family. Well,
a lot of times I talk about Texas. That's all I know is that the family I came from, my great-grandmother lived to be 103. I stayed on the farm until I really kind of, that's all I've known in my life. Family, Sunday dinners, family. Everything is about family. Family supporting you no matter what. Family, again, me here in Texas, we talked about my immediate family. I have a lot of relatives that love the Houston Texans, but I just assume that's kind of how it is everywhere, and it is definitely a blessing. The more family that you're around and the more family that you have.
All right, Coach, thanks a lot for joining us. Good luck Sunday.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to know when we post new content.